Well, good morning and happy Friday to you. I hope you've had a good week. It certainly has been an interesting one, has it not? I don't know about you, but I think the weight of life is beginning to uh, be upon me in a way that's kind of significant. And so, between living in the struggle of what we've had to be doing here in the past to knowing some details of some people's lives that are going to be difficult for them moving forward, um, figuring out what needs to happen to make church happen here in the coming weeks, and living in the world of negotiation between people who see things differently. It's certainly a challenge, and find ourselves in some difficult spots. The weight of our world, as the incident down in the cities has certainly turned people on their heads and made things be something that is a reflection of the weight of the world that we live in, and the injustice that has not only been felt for a day and a week and 200 years or 400 years, but an injustice that began with Cain and Abel and Adam and Eve, and all of the advantage we tried to gain at the expense of somebody else. And what a unfortunate deal that is. And I regret just having to live and look at it and see people's responses to it, and see people's responses to the responses, and the kind of the ugly nature that people are even having a discussion with each other about what ought to be and what ought not to be, and the idea of what justice is. In the Old Testament, God stepped in, and an eye for an eye. That's the reasonable thing, that there is justice does demand some kind of cost, but as we all know, that an eye for an eye is actually a pretty significant step in the right direction, because most people want an eye for a life, right? You take out my eye, I take out your life, and so that's what gets witnessed in our news headlines here recently, and the further command in the New Testament to forgive, right? To not go for an eye, but to forgive one another and love one another, and what a lofty goal. But here under the sun, as Ecclesiastes would say, is that I've seen something a lot more wicked, and I don't want to respond too quickly to some of these incidences that happen in the news. Over time, it's been proven that what we say in the first 30 seconds of news coverage is not the whole story, and so certainly the whole story is come out. And one of the things about that is, from my time spent being a police officer, is we were just preached to that you will treat every single person that you arrest with absolute dignity and respect. They didn't commit their crime against you, so you need to not take it personally, and you just need to, with professionalism, take care of your task. I was even busted for smiling too much. I generally have a smile on my face, and one of the things I was told by my sergeant is you can enjoy your job, you just can't smile while you're doing it. So I even got chastised for putting a smile on my face sometimes, because that's cameras are always rolling and people will see what they see, and maybe they don't want to see you smiling in the middle of taking care of business like that. Perception goes a long ways in these kinds of moments. But the injustice of what goes on, and the frustration that people have when they feel like over and over and over and over and over and over again, there's an injustice that doesn't have to face any consequences. You can feel the pain of that. It's just that you shouldn't burn down your own city. And we all know these kinds of things, but it's heartbreaking just to watch it, and a refreshing thing to think about a world when an eye for an eye is not even a necessary thing, because there was never an eye in the first place. And what a beautiful thing it'll be to be in heaven and have righteousness be restored in an absolutely perfect way, and for us to never sin against each other. What an impossible thought, right? It seems far out there. So I pray that you can respect and appreciate the difficulty that people outside of your own personal groups feel about things. There's a weight that people of color in our day and age have to live with, that you and I don't understand at all. There's not an automatic assumption of guilt every time people look at me, And it's just a wrong thing that it happens so much and so often. And it's that classic do unto others. And they're recognizing that you and I are all part of adding to this story of misery or adding to this story of redemption. I couldn't help but think of the one of the shootings that had happened a few years ago. One of the some of the kids that were the most adamant about how something should be done were the ones who would, with just kind of a smugness on their face. Oh yeah, we treated that guy like garbage, but he shouldn't be able to shoot us. And it's and that line is true. No matter how bad you treat someone, they shouldn't be able to take your life. But maybe you should reconsider how you treat people. Maybe they're these issues are so complicated, and I think people add to them in ways that they don't even know they're adding to them, and they're mad when someone doesn't do the right thing, even though they haven't been doing the right thing the whole time. So where do you get started? It is, you think about, what a wretched man I am, and some of the words of the prophets that would be so deeply ingrained in how far this sin nature goes inside of us and the kinds of things that it creates in us. It's brutal to watch, and I wish people would get and understand what the Christian life is all about, because it really does press into these difficulties in a significant way, but people act like they don't. So what you gonna do? I do vacillate back and forth between wanting to press into the issues of our day and how much I should address them and how much I should be a distraction. And so the devotion that I've chosen for today is a bit of a distraction, which maybe is a good thing for us. It's not an attempt to avoid the problem. It's a realization, and sometimes another thing needs to get talked about to bring some life. And so this chapter is called Momentary Pleasures, and it deals with those moments of just like pure satisfaction, not necessarily because you did a great thing or some big thing. It's just that that baking cookies with my grandkids kind of thing. It's folding my laundry and having a task be completed, it painting that room and painting that wall and seeing it done, and just like sitting down and going, yeah, what a cool thing to be productive. And so here's this title of this book called Momentary Pleasures. It says, once in a while, just every once in a great while, you have one of those moments. They are those moments that come one at a time, with no interruptions, no competition, no phone ringing or beeping. That would be a gift. No kids screaming for attention. That's also a gift. No emergencies, no jamming of the lines, no log pile of ideas, no lists of things to get done. You simply fold the last piece of laundry. You nail down the last plank. You lay the last brick and wash off your trowel with your fullest attention, aware of your deepest joy. You sharpen your lawn-mower blade and savor the motion and the sound of the file sliding roughly and at just the right angle along the cutting edge. You toss one extra pass of your football with your kid or your dad or your friend. You fine-tune your guitar. You reread the last couple of pages of your favorite book. You measure out and you keep safe space between you and the car ahead. I guess we could change that to you and your neighbor of 6 feet, right? But not often, but every once in a while, you have that perfect kind of moment when you've put everything you've got into a task and you find you have enough, right? Sometimes you find you don't have enough, and it's hard to get through that last bit, but sometimes there's just, you've got enough. You feel that even if you bungle the job, there's little at stake. You sink your teeth into something, you put your heart into it, you act deliberately by choice, not by coercion of an immediate necessity. I'm not trying to fix something that has to get fixed before the rainstorm, but I'm just fixing something that I want to fix, right? You do it for the joy of doing it, not just to get it done. You shoot from the hip, you swing from your shoulders, you feel that exhilarating grace and balance of having found your center or having centered yourself. It's for those once in a while kind of moments, far more than those once upon a time kind of moments, those dream world things that can never be, but just the things that are. You get it done, that we can be most thankful. It's in those moments that we find some sense of who we are, regardless of how grand or how common the event of the moment it is. In it, we see ourselves at our absolute best, focused, posed, pure, no compromise, no ulterior motives, no self-deception or pretense. We see what we are like when we have no point to prove or to score, no bills to fit, no scrutinizing to endure. We meet again that child in us who still loves to swim in the cold, quick running waters of the now. The child in us who can feel in his skin and the very bones the warmth and the brilliance of the sun. In those moments, there is that flash of astonishing recognition. This is not a child who is merely in us. This child is us. No wonder we love these moments and want them to linger, but for now they can't. We must let them go. They are a flicker of some holy flame, a twinkling of an eye wherein the dead come alive again. Remember them, thank the Lord for them, but move on into the next moment and be present in it. It is God's present to you. We certainly do hunger for those moments, and we certainly do enjoy them. Sometimes we talk about them in the past too much, because sometimes when we dwell in those things that were great moments in the past, sometimes you're kind of missing the moment that's in the now. It's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped doing photography. I love to take pictures of our kids at their birthday parties and when we're on vacation and all those kinds of things, to have those photos to put up on the wall. But at some point in time in the middle of that journey, I began to realize that I wasn't fully present. I mean, to take a picture of someone is different than just engaging with them. And so I kind of grew weary of the whole picture taking thing, and I just wanted to be with people, to live in that moment and enjoy it and let it sink in. So this week I had that joy-filled moment. My kids purchased a house. In the middle of a house purchase, they needed a couple projects done, and so it was my great joy to help them out with a project and just kind of live in that joy of a task that was needed and that they were thankful for, and I could help them out with, and use the tools that I've acquired over the years to do home improvements, to fix things for them. And man, what a fun thing, and how different it is from the rest of our world at this moment. So I pray that you've got some moments that you can bask in. I pray that as this weekend comes and goes, that you'll have an opportunity maybe to share a moment with a loved one, or just watching the grass grow, or in my case, the dandelions grow, and seeing those beautiful yellow flowers all over the yard. Can I get an amen? Anyway, let me pray for us and we'll move on. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for life. I thank you for hope. I thank you that in the midst of the world around us that has lost it, that we wouldn't be surprised. Because you want justice as much as we do, and the world cries out when it sees injustice, and rightfully so, because these things ought not be. Give us the ability to not just see what's going on and see the people that need to be saved because there's people floating in the river. Help us, Lord, to learn how to ask you to walk upstream and figure out why there's so many people in the river, and ask better questions, and see what we could do to make the world a better place as much as we can this side of heaven, recognizing that short of the perfection that you offer us in heaven, we're always going to find ourselves wrestling with horrible things. Give us the peace and the poise and the ability to step into that with solutions that actually work, and not knee-jerk reactions. Help us to, in the middle of all the chaotic moments, help us to find those moments where you just want us to enjoy and to sit down and look and say thanks. It's hard to do both of those things. So help us, Lord, give us the ability to see both of those things at the same time and to say thanks to you. In your name I pray, amen. God bless.